Well, guys, thanks for coming out. Good to see you. It's good to see you at the pro day last week. Excited to get started here with spring football. It's been a really good off season, a good winter. A lot of stuff cooking here in our team and our staff. Offensive staff wise, pretty much stayed intact. John, we gained John McNulty as our assistant receivers coach, which is really a big get. It's good to have John back. Defensively, obviously with the co-coordinators Rob Smith and Zach Sparber, as well as Vic Hall, who will come in and work with the nickels and safeties. We also, David Rowe, he was on staff, but David's going to coach the corners now. And Charlie Noonan, who was on staff, is now going to coach the interior D-line. So excited about that. You know, now there's 3 of our former players that are position coaches, which is exciting for me. You know, when you're guys that you met when they were 16 years old as high school students and now they're coaching for you, that's a lot of fun, and they're really good coaches too. So excited about all that. Excited about our team. We do have some off-season surgeries that I'll go through now just to do some housekeeping. Missing this spring offensively, Kenny Fletcher is still recovering from his surgery. Dylan Braithwaite, Sam Brown, Brian Felter, and Shedrick Rhodes. So those 5 guys will miss spring. Defensively, Mo Toure still recovering. Abram Wright, Isaiah DeLoach, who's a new incoming freshman, who's recovering from surgery, and then we had one winter program injury. DK Gilly has had surgery. He'll miss the season. So that's kind of from the injury standpoint. And other than that, I'm here to answer any questions that I can. So, again, appreciate you coming out.
I guess just starting off with the DC. So why did you decide to go the co-defensive coordinator route? And I guess how do they share those responsibilities?
Well, it's a good question. You know, I really took my time in this process, and there was a lot of twists and turns. I think we ended up exactly where we needed to. I think both of those guys, they have worked together before at Duke, so they were really complimentary of each other. And I said, well, let's get them both. And that's what we did. And I think it's going to work out well. You know, as I noted, Rob will call it. But Zach's a huge part of the implementation of the defense, running it, putting the game plan together. And I'm sure there'll be a lot of discussion with the 2 of them even on game day. But Rob has more experience calling it, and that's the way we'll do it.
You guys had Rob originally when you came back, didn't renew his contract. Now he's back as the DC 2 years later. Just why did you guys ultimately land on him, and did you see an evolution in him in these 2 years since he's been here?
Well, yeah, that you know, this is the 4th time that Rob's accepted a job. It's the 4th time I've offered him a job. So certainly I have a lot of respect for him. I think he's a excellent football coach, really sharp defensive mind, and I just think that as things evolve, there's always changes, right? Nobody stays the same, and I'm excited as heck. You know, it's been a great off-season working with he and Zach, and I'm excited about what we're going to do on defense. So glad it ended up the way it did.
Greg, we're reaching that point in college sports history where obviously we start paying players. I'm curious if you've changed the operations at all behind the scenes or what you've done to prepare for that moment.
Yeah, well, it's been going on for a while, actually, but I know what you're saying. The 7th is coming, April 7th, with what, you know, if the House case gets settled, then it'll be a different pay stream. The interesting thing, Steve, is going to be what happens to NIL, right? Like if everybody says, well, there's going to be a clearinghouse and there's going to be all these things. I hope like heck it works. I mean, that would be unbelievable. But I've been doing this a long time, and I don't think, there's teams in our league that have paid $25 or $30 million for their roster last year. I don't think they're going to take a pay cut. So how that all gets sorted out, That's going to be the interesting part. But I don't really care. I worry about what our situation here is at Rutgers, and that's what you're asking about. Yeah, we've spent a lot of time, as far as we're still in the process of building up our personnel department. Really what's happened in college sports is you need a college personnel department, and then you need a high school personnel department, because you have to evaluate. If you wait till the time when people come on the market in the transfer portal, it's too late, or you're going to make bad decisions, one or the other. So you really have to evaluate players, especially at areas of need in the portal or potential portal market, and that takes people. There's guys that are coaching, there's guys that are evaluating. I kind of mix in all of it. So as far as the setup goes, I'm pretty comfortable with where we are. We still need to add some more staff to get the work done. So a lot of people are humping it right now and doing double time. But, again, I'm comfortable the way we handle it. Again, I think it's really important in these situations that you know who you are and what works in your program. And I think we do know that.
Just to follow up, did you, those 2 years in the NFL, do you bring anything from those experiences with you specifically that can apply to this salary cap management or, anything else, contracts?
Yeah, very much. Yeah, I'd say a ton. And when I went to the NFL, I really didn't know any of it, which was a real disadvantage. But I learned a ton, and then I learned a ton after the fact as well. So salary cap, dealing with agents, negotiations, all those things, I feel very comfortable doing that, and I think certainly needs to be an advantage for us.
Greg, kind of a multi-part question. Spring game still on. I know it's been canceled out a lot of programs across the country. What do you kind of see for the future of it? And do you think you'd be open to doing a joint spring game with other teams? I know it's been rumored around the country.
Well, there's a lot of questions there. Let me cut through them all. Number one, I love the spring game weekend. It's great. It's kind of like where the past, the present, and the future all come together, right? So you have your football alums that I love seeing, all our former players and guys that played here that long before I coached here, they come out in mass, right? And then our current team is here and their families, and then our future, our recruits. I think it's a great weekend. We try to do it as if it's at all possible, we try to do it on Rutgers Day. So it's a great day for Rutgers University. It's a great day for our football program, and we've been able to do that again this year. So I love it. I think it's one of those special days. And look, this is still college football in my mind, right? And pro football is a great game. College football is getting more and more like pro football, but I still think there's some things that can be unique to college football. And spring games and that whole weekend is one of them. So I'm looking forward to it. We're definitely going to have our spring game, and can't wait. Yeah, there's a lot of good developmental time that comes between now and then, and that's what excites me the most, is that we have a really good football team, I think, coming back. I'm excited about coaching them, but we got to develop them. There's a lot to be done between now and when we kick off against Ohio U, and this is one part of it for sure. As far as joint practices, I always enjoyed joint practices in the NFL when we had them. You got to go with the right team, right? Because some of the nonsense that goes on in the NFL is just that, nonsense, guys fighting and that. Everybody that we did practice with, there was a rule. Any fights, they're both gone. Whoever's fighting, you're off the field. It's done. And that worked fine. You didn't have any of the nonsense, and you got really good work. So we'll see. I wouldn't be opposed to it in training camp either. You don't get preseason games in college football. That would be really good. But, again, let's wait and see what comes about.
You talked about having those former players that played under you now on staff as position coaches. How important is it to have those guys that know what to expect and have done it as players to instill that in the current players?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. I love having, more than anything, our former players not only know the culture, but they live the culture. And they lived it in this room. They lived it on that campus outside here. And that, to me, is what makes them uniquely qualified to deal with our student athletes, to deal with our players. They know me, right? And they get away with murder because it's like your own. They know me for how many years now, and I know their families. But they're really good coaches, and there's been several that have wanted to get into coaching. You have to be selective. They got to have that certain it factor, but these guys do, and it's fun to go to work with them.
Coach, you were talking about the evolution of college football and NIL. One of those situations is with Jet, and I know his lawsuit. Can you just kind of give us an update on where things are and where things stand with that situation?
Good question. I wish I could, but Jet is suing the NCAA, but I can't comment on it now because it's an ongoing case. Sure, I'm hopeful that it works out because Jet's a good player and a cultural fit. One of the things that I'm so proud of, our staff did a great job of not only identifying really good players in the transfer portal, but guys that are a cultural fit. And I think that's of utmost importance because here's the real dilemma, right? If you're going to the portal for a guy, you better get a guy that you're bringing here to play. You shouldn't be going there to get guys that are not going to play. Well, if they're going to play, then they're going to lead people in your team, whether you like it or not. Because if they're playing, they're making plays, and people follow people who make plays. So they have to be a cultural fit. Otherwise, you run the risk of guys being led in the wrong direction. So we spend a heck of a lot of time on all our players that we recruit, but even more so on the portal guys because they're coming in for a particular purpose, and that's to help you win now. And I love the guys we got this year in the portal. I really do. We've been very fortunate in years past and in this year again, really special young men.
Just going back to the DCs, with Zach specifically, I guess in your conversations with him, what stood out about the type of football mind he is, his philosophies, and then just the importance of having a Jersey guy on staff who's obviously familiar with that, another Jersey guy on staff who's familiar with this area?
Yeah, well, Zach, I had talked to Zach probably 5 years ago when we first came here, and he was at Virginia Tech at the time. And I remember being very impressed. This guy's a sharp young kid. And then he's had some tremendous experiences since then. Working with some really good defensive football coaches. So I've kept an eye on him. And, Rob initially brought him up to me. And I said, yeah, I know who he is. And just talking to him, we did a couple of conversations, and I really was impressed and just could feel his energy. And you talk about a guy who loves New Jersey and loves Rutgers, Zach Sparber's that guy. I mean, he is excited to be home. His family's excited to have him home, and he's going to do a great job for us, recruiting, coaching, the whole deal.
Coach, I know you could probably ask this question about a lot of the position groups, but overall, the one with the most turnover seems to be the DB room. How do you use the spring game and the offseason in general to prepare the new starters, especially with so many key veterans now gone?
Yeah, we call them takeaways when the defense does it. Just a small thing, but we don't think anybody just gives things to you, right? You got to go take it. And we didn't do a good job this past year of doing that. We were not, by our standards, we were awful, right? So we need to improve on that. What we did a very good job of is taking care of the football, right? We had 2 fumbles and 7 interceptions the entire season. So if we can take the ball away and continue to take care of the ball the way we are, we'll have a great year. But we got to take the ball away. So to your question, how do you do it? You work on it. You emphasize it. Everybody knows that's a key ingredient to our defense. And you got to put pressure on the quarterback, right? When you put pressure on the quarterback, he throws balls to teams other than his own sometimes, and that's what we need to happen this year.
I think you may have answered it, but a lot of programs are hiring GMs. Are you considering doing that, or am I talking to the GM?
Yeah. I mean, if the right person became available, we would certainly do it. But until that right person is available, I'll handle parts of that. But we have a great staff. Eric Josephs is our director of player personnel. He does an incredible job. Jordan Walkstein is involved in every facet of our program and does an incredible job. So we just need to beef up the staff to be evaluating tape. But again, they got to be the right guys. Culturally, they got to be a fit. You have a vertically aligned organization only if guys want to be vertically aligned. So I spend a lot of time on the hiring of staff and the recruiting of players because I think if you do that right, it gives you a chance to really have success. If you do it wrong, you're chasing your tail the whole time.
Greg, you were asked about a couple of the new hires so far. Vic Hall, you didn't mention yet. How did you guys kind of find him? He doesn't really have a bunch of New Jersey connections or Rutgers connections specifically.
I thought I did mention Vic's name. Yeah, Vic's he's going to coach the nickels and the safeties. Rob Smith, I did not know Vic Hall. I knew him as a player. I remember him at Virginia as a player. I did not know him, but man, am I glad that we've met. I've been with him for, about a month, and he's really a sharp guy, really good football coach. I can tell he relates to young people very well, which is going to help him be a very good recruiter. So yeah, I'm excited. Excited that we kind of got a mix of parts of our defensive staff from last year and some new guys this year, and I'm excited to just sit back and kind of observe how they all mesh together. They've been doing a really good job, though. There's a chemistry there that I like, and when you have an off season like we've had with all these portal guys, 11 portal guys is the most we've ever had. My job is to make sure that we get everything put together. That's going to be the key, right? That everybody's on the same page, and I think our coaches have done a really good job so far with that.
Going back to the Jet Elad lawsuit, it mentions approximately $500,000 NIL deal. Is that number accurate, and where does that kind of rank in the spectrum of the NIL deals on your roster?
Yeah, I'm never going to get into, unless I'm publicly required to reveal that, I'll never get into who's getting what. But, just don't believe everything you read is something that I learned a long time ago. But Jet's a really good player. Glad he's here.
Coach, I apologize. Earlier I meant roster turnover, not like takeaways, interceptions.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I was preparing the new starters in that DB room, like using.
You can see where my mind is then, right?
Yeah, right.
Just get the ball, get the ball.
And also just building off what Alex said, having these alumni players like coach these young guys, especially like instilling that culture when the key veterans are gone. How important is the off season for that?
Yeah, it's really important. But I think overall your coaching staff has to do that, whether they played here, whether they've coached here, or whether you got them from Alaska. It doesn't matter. Like, the job of a coach is to live life with his players. Part of that's coaching them in football. Part of it's helping them grow up as a man. Part of it's helping them be successful as a student, right? So I think our coaches do a better job than anybody in the country at living life with our players. And that's what I ask them to do. And I tell them at the jump, if you're looking for a job, there's probably better places to go work. If you're looking for a lifestyle, you want to live life with our players, then this is a great place to work. And I say it up front because I don't want guys getting here and then being like, what is this? Like, I really expect them to live life with their position group. And like I said, our guys do a great job of that.
Two new DNs, Eric O'Neal and Bradley Weaver. I guess what just stood out about them and how they kind of fit into this defense?
Well, really, really productive guys at their previous schools. Hardest workers on their team, and are now some of the hardest workers on our team. Really impressed with them up to this point, and it's been fun to coach them. So far, it's all good.
Last year with the injuries, I know that was something that we talked about an awful lot, but did you take a chance to evaluate this offseason? Has the strength and conditioning program adjusted because of what you saw last year? Or?
Well, we're always adjusting, whether it's our sports science or our strength and conditioning people, our training staff, medical. I mean, that's constantly pressing. But the reality is the injuries we had were kind of freakish things. When you tear ligaments, you break bones. That's generally not, if you had a ton of soft tissue injuries or you had injuries that, you're not doing things right. But when you have, the year before we were kind of fortunate. And unfortunately, that's how it goes sometimes. You'd like it not to be so severe if we could kind of be in the middle. But maybe this year that means we're going to be good. We'll see.
Everyone's optimistic in spring, but you seem very optimistic. Was it the off season? Where the program is overall? I mean, what gives you hope heading into this?
I like our staff. I like our team. I like our players. We're playing in the best conference in college football, so it's quite a challenge, right? The Big Ten Conference. We got a great schedule this year, but the reality is we have to get this group that we have right here now, and we have to get them better and better and better and better. They have to believe in themselves more and more and more and more, and get to training camp and get ourselves in a mindset to be ready to go play what could be, a great season. But you're playing a great schedule, so you got to go every single week. There's no letdowns on that schedule, and it's going to take every bit of what we can do now, between now and then, to be prepared for it. But you're right. This time of year, if you're not optimistic this time of year, you got some issues, right? But I really do. I like our team. I like our staff. I love this place. So, yeah, I'm excited.
There's been a lot of talk about the defense here, obviously, but the offense is a group that has a lot of continuity, minus a few major pieces. How do you continue that group to continue to grow together throughout the spring?
Well, it starts with Coach Shiraka. He does a great job with the entire staff. There's no, oh, we got better, now we figured it out. I mean, he is one of those guys that's constantly pushing it. The next, and maybe 1 and 1A, is our quarterback, right? I mean, Ethan is a special kid, and I've really enjoyed watching him grow this off season. Growing, after putting results up on the field, I think it's allowed him to be more of a leader this off season. Again, you got to remember last off season he's coming in from a different university. He's got to compete for the job, and really just had his head down trying to do his job and win the job. And this year it's totally different. We have our quarterback. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about. He's our leader. We have the opportunity to really have a great receiving core. They're youngish. They're a good mix, really. But there's some guys that I look at there saying, all right, that's what it's supposed to look like. So got to keep getting better, stay healthy. The offensive line, we have a big man to replace in Holland. I mean, he really had a great career, silently, kind of quietly, 50 starts. I mean, that's not a lot of guys who have started 50 Big Ten football games. So this is a kid who we're going to miss a bunch. Someone's going to enjoy having him, but we're not allowed to anymore. But I like the guys that have been developing behind them, and Coach Flats has done a great job developing them. Our running back group I really love. Coach Shaw, again, exceptional job in developing them. You look at a guy like Kyle Monungai, right? What a tremendous runner, all those things for sure. But what is it, like 633 carries, 0 fumbles? That's unheard of, right? That to me is coaching. That to me is a coach who connects with his players and they believe in him. So when I look at our staff, Dave Brock, tremendous job. Scott Vallone with the tight ends. I mean, I really think that Coach Shiraka has done a great job of bringing our staff together and making them truly united and vertically aligned in what our offense is. So, I'm excited. Again, we gotta get better, and special teams is going to be a huge part. Eddie Allen really heads that up, and Eddie does a great job, and I try to help him where I can. We got work ahead of us, but good group to go to work and try to get these things accomplished. So, again, probably forgot something that I'll get you on Friday, but I wanted to get this stuff out of the way so we can just talk about practice and the team and where we're headed come Friday. We'll do a little mini camp Friday and Saturday, back to back, and then we'll get into our routine Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. And at the end, we'll have that spring game on Rutgers Day, which should be, like I said, a great time for a lot of different groups. And then it's into that summertime getting ready. I break things up into those kind of segments. And we just finished the winter program. Now we're entering the spring. This is a new segment, one we have to really excel. And then we'll take the next one when it gets here. But appreciate you coming out, and look forward to seeing you this spring.